All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to the Day's Explainer, where we're going to decode the ultimate 2026 roadmap for becoming a software development engineer. Honestly, if you've ever looked at the tech industry and just felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer mountain of jargon, programming languages, and endless tools, you are in the exact right place. Our goal today is super focused. We're taking you from an absolute beginner to a fully hired software development engineer, using a crystal clear step-by-step roadmap drawn straight from the latest industry guidance. Think of this as your architectural blueprint for a brand new career. So here's our game plan. We're going to conquer this journey in 5 highly achievable milestones. 1. The SDE role and basics. 2. Data structures and algorithms. 3. Systems, databases, and networks. 4. Building full-stack projects. And finally, number 5, landing the SDE job. Let's start right at the beginning with milestone 1, the SDE role and basics. Because before we start laying any bricks, we absolutely need to know what kind of house we're building. So what actually is a software development engineer? Well, they aren't just someone who sits in a dark room typing code. They are comprehensive problem solvers, responsible for 4 core duties: designing the architecture, writing the actual code, thoroughly testing it to make sure it doesn't just instantly break under pressure, and then maintaining those internet-deployed applications over time. You're basically managing the entire lifecycle of an app to perfectly meet client requirements. And that right there, that's the end goal we are working toward. Now, this roadmap follows a highly logical progression. Notice how everything builds sequentially, kind of like constructing a house. You literally cannot build the roof, which in this case is applying for jobs and building complex projects, without first pouring a rock-solid concrete foundation. And that foundation starts right at step 1. That foundation relies entirely on your programming language. Now, here's the good news. You do not need to learn every single language under the sun. Just choose one of the big 3. C++, Java, or Python. It really doesn't matter which one you pick, but mastering the foundational concepts within that language, that is absolutely non-negotiable. No matter how senior of a developer you become, you're always going to rely on variables, arrays, strings, the core principles of object-oriented programming, and exception handling. You've got to get these basics locked down first. Okay. Once your foundation is poured, it is time to move to milestone 2, data structures and algorithms, or DSA mastery. Now, I know, this is often the most intimidating trial for beginners. But seriously, do not let the acronym scare you. If your programming language is the raw bricks and mortar, data structures and algorithms are the advanced physics and engineering that keep the skyscraper from collapsing. It's the secret sauce that takes you from someone who can build a simple, flimsy shed to a top-tier engineer who can construct a massive, highly efficient high-rise. To really demystify what DSA actually is, think of data structures as the different types of physical containers holding our materials. Sometimes you just need a simple array or a linked list, but other times you might need a complex binary tree or a graph to map out intricate relationships. Then, on the flip side, algorithms are the specific action steps and rule sets we perform on those containers. Stuff like sorting the data, searching through it using pointers or a sliding window, or using dynamic programming to solve really complex problems efficiently. You absolutely need to understand both sides to be an effective engineer. Moving right along, let's transition to milestone 3. Systems, databases, and networks, the core tech architecture. If DSA was the underlying physics, this is where we're installing the actual plumbing and electrical wiring that allows our code to function in the real world. Now, system design basically splits into 2 crucial perspectives. First, you have high-level design, or HLD. This focuses on the macro architecture. Are you building one massive monolithic application, or are you breaking it down into nimble little microservices? How does the data flow? Where are your API gateways and load balancers to handle, say, millions of concurrent users? In contrast to that, low-level design, or LLD, zeroes in on the micro. It's all about specific class diagrams, deep object-oriented design, and applying established design patterns to your code. A great SDE needs to be able to zoom way out for HLD and zoom way in for LLD. So, a huge question comes up. Once you design the system, where does all the actual user data live? Well, you have to understand databases. On one hand, you have SQL databases like Oracle, MySQL, and Postgres. These are highly structured. You're going to need to master CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, along with complex queries like joins and normalization. On the other hand, you have NoSQL databases like MongoDB or Redis. These are flexible, document-based, and use simple key-value pairs without all those complex queries. And remember, understanding the CAP theorem, balancing consistency, availability, and partition tolerance, that's going to be your guiding light in choosing exactly which database is right for your project. Next up in this structural layer is the operating system. And hey, take a deep breath. I know this list of OS essentials might seem a bit overwhelming. Processes, threads, CPU scheduling, deadlocks, memory management, it's a lot. But you do not need to memorize every single concept right this second. Just know that these are absolutely mandatory learning stops on the route. You have to understand how your code interacts with the computer's actual brain to prevent crashes and ensure buttery smooth performance. Finally, the last piece of the architecture, networking. Because let's face it, your code is pretty much useless if it can't talk to the internet. You need to grasp how data travels across the 7 layers of the OSI model to actually reach a user. You need to know the difference between highly reliable TCP and super fast UDP protocols, and how HTTP and HTTPS keep all that user data secure. This is literally the infrastructure connecting your building to the rest of the world. And wow, that brings us to milestone 4, building full-stack projects. Take a second to celebrate because you've collected all the theoretical tools. Now it is time to move into the house and start building real applications. Because here's the truth, employers don't just want to know that you've read a textbook about these concepts. They want to see them in action. Modern projects must include front-end, back-end, and database integration. But to really prove your skills, your projects specifically need authentication, handling secure user logins and signups on both the client and server side. They must feature actual live deployment on platforms like Render, Vercel, or Netlify. And they definitely need to utilize APIs, whether that's REST, GraphQL, or pulling in data from external sources. Now, if you're sitting there wondering what to actually build, the Source Roadmap recommends 3 specific, heavy-hitting projects: a blog application, a real-time chat application, or a full-blown e-commerce platform. Tackling these will absolutely force you to combine your programming language, your algorithms, your database management, and your networking skills into a single cohesive portfolio piece that hiring managers actually want to see. Which leads us to our 5th and final destination on the roadmap, landing the SDE job. It's time to start your career and turn all of this hard work into a real signed job offer. Job hunting is a complete skill in itself. Seriously, don't just rely on one method. You need to leverage multiple channels. Optimize the heck out of your LinkedIn profile so recruiters can actually find you. Utilize job boards like Naukri.com. But don't stop there. Go directly to company career pages to find those hidden openings and actively network to secure referrals from people who are already inside the companies you want to work for. A strong referral is often the golden ticket straight past the initial resume screening bots. As you start applying and heading into interviews, I want to deliver this core piece of advice directly from our source material. Never turn off your learning. Always keep learning. The tech industry is famous for evolving at lightning speed. Getting hired isn't crossing the finish line. It's really just the starting line of a dynamic, lifelong journey of discovering new tools, new languages, and new frameworks. So we have covered the entire blueprint, from learning your very first variable in Python all the way to deploying a full-stack e-commerce app and landing the job. But you know, a blueprint is completely useless if you don't pick up a brick and start laying it. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What is the very first step you will take today on your SDE roadmap? Pick just one concept from this explainer, open up your laptop, and start building. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.